Most people overpay for car insurance, not because they're careless, but because switching feels like too much hassle. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/ACAST today.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
Hello and welcome to mini episode number 493 of Real Life Ghost Stories. And I have 2 spooky stories for you today. And the last story comes from the 29th of October 2025. And story number 1 comes from Melissa. When my family was very young, we lived in an old house on a dead-end street. My husband and I bought this house when we were first married, and we had many happy years there. We eventually had to move because our little family outgrew the tiny home. Before we moved, however, we experienced some interesting things. Both of my children could speak articulately and have full conversations at a very young age. When my son was about 18 months old, he started demonstrating some strange behaviours. I used to sit in the living room in a lazy boy rocking recliner chair to give him his bottles during the day and at night. Several times while my son was drinking his bottle of milk, he would start shaking and pointing at something that I couldn't see. His little body would vibrate as he stared at a fixed point in the room and pointed his little finger at something that I couldn't see. I would try to calm him down and ask him, "What are you pointing at? There's nothing there." He would just shake his head and keep pointing. Eventually my son shared a room with his older sister, who was just 20 months older than him. When he graduated from a crib into a big boy bed, he started having more strange things happen to him. As I said earlier, our house was very small, so the top half story was just 2 bedrooms. One at the front of the house and one at the back of the house. My bedroom was at the front, and my kids' bedroom was at the back. Both of my kids were never the best sleepers, but they had each other in their room, so they usually could calm each other down if anything made them upset during the night. One night, my son started crying and could not be consoled no matter what we did. This went on for a few weeks. He would cry and scream and yell for me to come and get him. I have never been the kind of parent who let their kids cry it out. I always went to my children when they were upset. So one night when I went into their room to see what was the matter, my son told me in his little baby voice, "The grey ghost. The grey ghost is in my bed." This went on for a few years, and we eventually moved out of this house into a brand new house that was built just for us. But things followed him. In this new house, my son started having night terrors, and the really creepy kind. At this point in time, he was about 4 years old. He started talking in his sleep a lot, and when I would go to check on him, more than once I would find him kneeling in his bed facing the wall with his eyes half open, as still as a statue. If you've ever tried to wake a child up who is in this weird sort of catatonic state, it is not easy, and it is creepy. My son eventually grew out of the night terrors, and we never heard about the grey ghost after we moved from our first house. Those memories still haunt me, even if my children don't remember them.
If they have black eyes, talk about past lives, fill your heart with dread, standing by your bed, see ghosts in their room or foretell your doom, they're a creepy kid.
It has been a while since we have whipped out Mary's Creepy Kid jingle, so I thought that was a fitting story to do so. And, when I call kids creepy kids, I say it with love, and the utmost respect and reverence for the experiences of both family and child. But when a creepy kid is a creepy kid, the jingle is necessary. So thank you as always, Mary, for sending in that jingle. It really tickles me every single time. What I also really love about that jingle is that when Mary sent it in, she was like, oh, this is just, recorded a cappella in the middle of the night on my phone. And it always tickles me, the idea of you just lying there thinking, God, children are weird. And then that song pops into your head and you're like, I immediately must record this. I love it. And I do think, right? I think as long as I've done this podcast, there are things that I don't believe in. There are things that I believe in. There are things that I'm ambivalent about or things that I am unsure about. And I can tell you that kids having some sort of innate ability to see and experience weird shit, I think that is something that I believe in. Whether it's that their brains are just wired differently up to a period of time, or whether it's that they are just more accepting of the things that they see and feel and they don't really understand the world, so they're not questioning things in the same way. Whatever it is, kids are weird. And as a parent, it must be absolutely terrifying when your child is like pointing at things in the corner, giggling at things, when your child is in bed at night going, the grey ghost is in my bed, and then they're just sitting on the bed or kneeling facing the wall in a catatonic state. It must be absolutely petrifying. And I'm glad for you that he grew out of his night terrors and that you didn't hear about the grey ghost after. I'm interested as to what age he sort of stopped hearing about these things or experiencing these things. I just wonder if there's like an average age when kids kind of stop being creepy and, just become cynical and world weary like the rest of us.
This holiday, Verizon is giving you incredible gifts and savings you'll enjoy all year. When you switch, you'll get 4 new iPhone 17 Pros. No trade-in needed. That's right. Get 4 lines for just $25 a line and the amazing iPhone 17 Pro for everyone. Save big this holiday. Visit Verizon today. $20 monthly promo credits applied to account over 35 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply for phone offer. See Verizon.com for details.
Most people overpay for car insurance, not because they're careless, but because switching feels like too much hassle. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/ACAST today.
As a small business owner, you don't really get to clock out early. Your business is on your mind 24/7. So when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That partner is LinkedIn Jobs. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. It's super easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and manage qualified candidates all in one place. LinkedIn can even help you write your job description and get it in front of the right people. And promoted jobs get 3 times more qualified applicants. 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find higher quality candidates. And you can double your reach just by adding the hashtag hiring frame to your profile photo. Find out why more than 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/job search. That's linkedin.com/JOBSEARCH. Terms and conditions apply.
Amazon One Medical presents Painful Thoughts.
Do they ever actually clean the ball pit at these kids' play gyms? Or is my kid just swimming in a vat of bacteria, catching whatever cootie of the day is breeding in there? A cootie that'll probably take down our whole family.
Luckily, with Amazon One Medical 24/7 virtual care, you can get checked out for whatever ball pititis you've contracted. Amazon One Medical. Healthcare just got less painful.
And our second story today comes from Gerald. I had just turned 40 and had a relatively healthy, active lifestyle. I ate right, worked out 5 times a week, and had a busy schedule at work as a very busy hairstylist. Looking back in hindsight, I already started to get subtle symptoms of an illness onset, but at this time I didn't know what it was. Prior to turning 40 in the past 5 years, I would get subtle symptoms like a flash fever that would last moments and then go away, chronic low-grade headaches and feeling super fatigued. I would also have short bouts of being dizzy. And all of these things occurred randomly, so I just chalked it up to lack of sleep and being super busy at work. Then it started to affect my vision, and I started getting these weird auras. And I still didn't think anything was wrong with me. It was early September 2010, and I remember this day like it happened yesterday. I got up from bed but was just so winded that I had to sit on the edge of the bed to catch my breath. That and feeling dizzy at the same time. So I finally got my energy up to get ready for work. I made my lunch, packed my computer, and off I went to the car as my partner was driving me to work this morning. So as we were driving, apparently I passed out a few times and my partner knew something was wrong and drove me to the local hospital. When we arrived at the hospital emergency room, I was admitted immediately as they checked my heart rate and it was off the charts. I was dizzy, feeling really fatigued, and I didn't realise I had a grey pallor complexion. I was brought in immediately and was placed in the examination room, and I was to wait there for a doctor. My partner left at this time as he had errands to run, so I waited and waited. Then a doctor came in to examine me. I still remember this doctor that came in. He was of African descent. He was about 5'9" and about mid-40s, and wore these rather large, shiny gold-rimmed spectacles reminiscent of the style from the 70s. I thought to myself how unusual it was for someone to be wearing that type of style. I wondered if they were in fashion again. They were so shiny gold, they were sparkling. Even as sick as I was, I still had my faculties, and it wasn't because the illness was affecting my eyesight. So he examined me, and to my shock his hands were ice cold. He went through all the medical rounds and said to me not to worry and that everything would be okay. Then he left, never to return. I was then admitted to the hospital where I stayed for almost 2 months before being diagnosed with a rare form of B-cell lymphoma. Only 2% of diagnosed cases survive this type of cancer, and I was in stage 4. After going through 3 rounds of chemo, and this was late December now after Christmas, the chemo didn't work and I started getting tumours in my abdomen. The oncologist decided to ramp up the chemo and the dosage will be much higher and more aggressive. So aggressive that with the first treatment, I lost all feeling in my legs, hands and arms and could no longer walk without the assistance of a walker. I was told that I would never be able to do hair again and that I would be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And I was also told that if this more aggressive chemo didn't work, I would have about a month to live. I had to accept this as my fate. I mean, what can you do when a doctor tells you this? I had a spiritual awakening, and I accepted my fate. I do believe in miracles, and within about a week the tumours in my abdomen went away, so I continued with this second series of aggressive chemotherapy. By the end of my chemotherapy at the hospital, I found out I was fast-tracked to get a bone marrow transplant at another hospital. So the time came for me to transfer to the new hospital where they have an extensive bone marrow transplant centre. Prior to being transferred, I spoke with the head nurse of the floor as I wanted to give thanks for those who really took care of me. I asked the nurse if I could speak to the African doctor that saw me in the emergency department. As she had worked at the hospital for more than 30 plus years, she looked at me with a puzzled look on her face. She knew practically everyone in the ER, and she told me that there was no such person that worked in the ER. Oh my God. Was I visited by an angel? Or a ghost? The apparition that visited me was in physical form. He touched my wrist to check my pulse. I was shocked and amazed. After my bone marrow transplant, it was a success, and I beat stage 4 rare lymphoma, and am now in full remission. Looking back now, the apparition that showed itself to me said that I would be okay and to not worry. I never ever thought that I was going to die from this illness, as that is what I always thought, despite the harshness of the treatments and the side effects. I always knew from that incident that it was going to be the hardest thing to go through, but that I also would not die. I beat stage 4 rare form lymphoma and am now in full remission, and I do not use a wheelchair as my hands and legs are now usable, and I've even gone back to work. So doing a podcast like this for the last however long it is, 7 years or whatever. And somebody asked me this recently about the level of like sadness in the stories. So the stories that I receive are often about death and loss and trauma and suffering and pain and all of those things. That is not to say that people shouldn't send in those stories, because there is an element of catharsis, of people kind of expressing their pain, of closure. It gives other people closure, it makes other people feel seen. So please do continue to send in your stories. But it is true that it gets to a point where like it can be difficult to read stories of pain and loss and trauma and sorrow and, childhood trauma and terrible things that have happened to people all the time, especially when your mental health is often not great, as in my own mental health is often not great. So sometimes it can be really tricky, right? Again, not to deter anybody from sending in stories. That is what I do. And I enjoy that people have the chance to expunge some of these things from their lives, right? This story is an example of just a nice story where you go, yes, Gerald, it worked out well for you and I am so happy. To hear that you got this miraculous recovery, that you had this miraculous recovery from this really rare form of lymphoma is just incredible. And I'm so happy that you defied all the odds. You've gone back to work. You're not in a wheelchair. You've been able to get your feelings back in your hands and your legs and all of that jazz. And I'm genuinely so pleased and happy for you. I can't imagine what it must feel like to have somebody say to you, you are going to have a month to live because this is our last chance saloon. We don't have anything else to give, to throw at this. And yeah, trying to come to terms with that must be incredibly difficult. And yet here you are back living your life again. And I just love the idea that doctor was some sort of guardian angel who came into you in that room and said everything is going to be okay. And of course, when you're in that kind of situation where you're in an examination room in the A&E or whatever, in the hospital, and you see 100 million different doctors and nurses and they're all coming and going, you're not really asking for their credentials every time, right? So of course you'd understand that you see all these different people and you don't ask any questions and you get tired of seeing the same people and everyone's asking you the same questions over and over again. And then to have this person that you still remember, this person with the cold hands who is then, with their gorgeous, sparkly, shiny glasses, and they tell you, hey, everything will be okay. Like, obviously that person had some sort of aura that you remembered, that you held on to, And what if that is the case with guardian angels? That they just have something about them that is a little bit sparkly and different, and in this case it's those beautiful sparkly glasses. What if that is the case? What if you look at these people who you think are people in real life and there is just something beautiful and sparkly about them, and that is demonstrative of the fact that they are just that little bit special for whatever reason. And of course there will be people listening to this who are going to go, oh, maybe it was like his imagination, maybe it was like third man syndrome where he was under such stress his brain created this person, or all of those things. That in itself even I think is phenomenal and fascinating and almost supernatural in its own right. But also, what if it wasn't? What if it was just a guardian angel? What if it was somebody just dropping in and going, you are going to be okay. This is going to be scary. You are going to be sick for a while. This is going to be really hard, but you are going to be okay. God, maybe that's the energy we all need to be taking into 2026. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you to Melissa and Gerald for sending in your stories. Remember, the last story came from October the 29th, 2025. And if you would like to send in your story, you can do so by emailing it to reallifeghoststoriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out the website, reallifeghoststoriespodcast.com. And if you are desperate for some extra content, you can subscribe to the Patreon. That is patreon.com/reallifeghoststories, where for $5 a month or for $2 a month, you can get access to heaps of extra content, as well as every single main and mini episode completely ad-free. And on that note, I shall see you next time.
This holiday, Verizon is giving you incredible gifts and savings you'll enjoy all year. When you switch, you'll get 4 new iPhone 17 Pros, no trade-in needed. That's right, get 4 lines for just $25 a line and the amazing iPhone 17 Pro for everyone. Save big this holiday. Visit Verizon today. $20 monthly promo credits applied to account over 35 months with a new line on Unlimited Welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply for phone offer. See Verizon.com for details.